You are not depressed. Stop saying that. Oh, snap. I got people mad already, ready to go off on me in the comments. How dare you question my depression? Hold on. Hold on. Don't be so quick to protect that which causes you suffering. Let's speak honestly. You may be experiencing a depression right now, but you are not depressed. And I'm going to show you why. And this shift, if remembered, will change your life forever. You ready? See, you are the sky. Depression, frustration, sadness, these are passing clouds. They come, they go. Some are black, some are white. Sometimes they pepper the sky, and sometimes they fill the sky. But they always come and go. Because they, even though they seem like it, are not the sky. If they were, then when they went, the sky would go too. And the sky is always there. So likewise, if frustration, depression, and sadness were you, then when they went, you would go. But that's not what happens, is it? But no, you are always here. You are that which these things appear in front of. You are the witness, the perceiver of depression. And that which perceives depression is not depressed. See, imagine this remote control is depression. So you got you, and then you got depression. Depression comes, it goes, it comes, it stays for a while, it goes. But you are always here. Big problems come when you start to identify as depression. Never identify with that which comes and goes. Now pause the video right now and take some time with this. This is life-changing. There's an old saying, before enlightenment, I was depressed. After enlightenment, still depressed. But it's totally different now. I no longer identify with the depression. I realize that it wasn't me. I observe it, allow it to come and go without resisting it. This is freedom. This is truth. You are greater than anything that comes and goes. Peace.
Shalom, 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 my brothers and sisters of the nation of Israel. Welcome to another end of the week Sabbath class. I'm your brother Ananias.
Brother Benaiah.
And we are A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel. And it's an honor and a privilege, as always, to come before you to give you an edifying lesson with hopes and regards of edifying you and uplifting you in the spirit. But before we get started, we want to always give our honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh being the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai being His Son, who the world calls Christ, and through His strength, sacrifice, and example, we are all able to be here today to be what? Uplifted and edified in the spirit. You know, and as you can see, today's topic is called Emotional Roller Coasters, Dealing with Depression. Emotional roller coasters, dealing with depression. All right, this is a topic that plagues our people greatly, plagues the world for one thing, but more than others, it plagues the nation of Israel, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. The so-called, well, not the so-called, but the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. You know, this is an issue that plagues us a lot, and it's a problem. It's a situation that we got to deal with and we got to go over. And that's the whole basis behind tonight's class. And it's an honor and privilege as always. Like I said before, I appreciate you brothers and sisters tuning in, and we'll tune in. Just want to ask that you give special attention or extra prayers to our brothers and sisters of the nation of Israel who are dealing with loss of loved ones. You know, pray for the strength and for the courage for our brothers and sisters to keep pushing day in and day out. And as we watched in this video, the brother was going over depression. And depression, like he was saying in that video, is true. It's not who you are. It's basically a time or a feeling, or it's temporary, something that comes and goes, just like he was explaining in the video. Now, a lot of our people, everybody's going to deal with it. Let's get that understood from the jump. Everybody will go through that stage in their life where they have to deal with it. But when we do go through these things, we have to ask ourselves a couple of questions. And those questions would be, what is depression? If we want to label ourselves as being depressed, what is it? We want to know what's the cause of it. We want to know what are the symptoms. how to fix it and how to prevent it from happening, just like you would do in anything else in life. Just like if you were to get sick, catch the flu, you want to know exactly what the flu is. What are the symptoms? How did I get it? How do I get rid of it? How do I prevent it from happening or from me catching it again? Same scenario. So we want to ask a couple questions when we do all things. We should be inquisitive about all that we do in life. And this is one of the reasons why we're doing this class today, because it's a heavy topic that deals with our nation of people. And we go through it more than anybody else. So we're going to dive deep into it today. All right. And what we want to do is start off with the actual definition to tell you what depression actually is, because a lot of our people will use depressed when something doesn't go their way or they experience something they haven't experienced before. They'll say, I'm depressed. Oh, they didn't pick up the phone and call me. I'm depressed. Or I didn't get the job I wanted. I'm depressed. But it's bigger than that. And we got to dive into it just to see exactly what it is. So what we're going to do is go to the Merriam-Webster's dictionary to get an understanding. And can you see that, King? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Can you read it? The definition?
Yeah, give me 2 seconds. All right. Definition of depression.
You need me to blow it up?
I got it.
All right.
Definition of depression in the Webster's dictionary: an act of depressing or a state of being depressed, such as a state of feeling sad or spirits, specifically a mood disorder that is marked by varying degrees of sadness, despair, and loneliness, and that is typical accompanied by inactivity, guilt, loss of concentration, social withdrawal, sleep disturbance, and sometimes suicidal tendencies. B. All right. Number 2, biology: a lowering of physical and mental vitality or functional activity. A pressing down, lowering.
A pressing down, a lowering. You hear depressing, it's pressing down. A lowering of what? As we read earlier, a lowering of spirits, a mood. Being depressed is basically let's get some synonyms right quick. Being in a recession or in a slump. So you tend to be in a slump or in a lower state, mentally, physically, and spiritually, when you are in what they would call a depression, So let's go to the book of Colossians, chapter 1, verse 16. The one thing we have to understand about the scriptures, about the things that happen in life, is that everything that we go through is spiritual. Everything manifests itself in the spiritual realm, and it manifests itself in the physical realm. In the spiritual, it is conceived, and it plays itself out in the natural. You know what I'm saying? And that's what everything is about. We'll read that right quick.
And brother, if you can get the first couple of scriptures, I'm not able to get to it right now. But I do want to make a quick point.
Go ahead, Ken.
A quick point about a slump. So for any brothers who ever played baseball in their life, we always know as you might have a slump season. Like the brother mentioned, it always comes. Like everybody's gonna deal with depression at one level or another at one point in time in their life. So you're gonna always, throughout your life, you're gonna have some kind of slump, right? Where you feeling down, feeling depressed, not everything not going right. And you brothers who play baseball, you're not hitting the ball right. The can't flies anymore for a season. But the first season, you were catching pop flies, hitting home runs. Next thing you know, you go into a slump to where you just have an off season. So these things are seasonal and they can pass away. But you got
That's right. That's right. And even the greats went through it. And like we were bringing out, everybody's going to go through it. A lot of our brothers and sisters, we know about Michael Jordan. Now, if you actually speak to this brother, listen to one of his interviews, he said he missed more shots than he ever made. But today he's considered to be one of the best or the greatest basketball player of all time. I don't want to be carnal with the example, but sometimes you have to, even Paul had to break things down carnally so our brothers and sisters could understand it spiritually, excuse me. But even he went through slumps. He lost a lot of games. LeBron lost a lot of games, lost a lot of championships, but he's still considered to be what? One of the greats. So we all will go through these things. But I'm going to go to the book of Colossians, chapter 1, verse 16, and it reads, "For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him." So I bring that out to say what? The things that we go through are spiritual. Depression, those are not what Esau labels them to be, medical conditions. Those things are spirits. Depression consists of different spirits, mood swings, doubt, sorrow, suicidal thoughts, emptiness. Those things are spirits. Why? Because everything starts in the spiritual, manifests itself in the physical, and everything that was made by him. Who was that him? Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. They were made by him and for him, for his own pleasure, So I brought that out to let you know that everything is spiritual. Depression is spiritual. All right. So from there, we want to go to Sirach chapter 40, verse 1. And some of our brothers and sisters that went through these things are listed all throughout the scriptures. Some like Noah, imagine what their brother was going through, being the only one that knew that the earth was getting ready to be flooded. And he had to go against the odds or go against the norm and build this enormous ark, load it up with the animals, save only his family. Imagine the mindset that's going through his mind, especially when the doors were closed after it started raining. Hearing all those people screaming, drowning. He knew these people, but they would not hearken to the Lord. But he had to close. The door was closed. He had to hear that. Imagine the mindset, knowing that everybody was dead. They on the water for days. Imagine that mindset. You don't think they were depressed? Everybody on that boat? Think about that. Even Job. Everybody knows about the story of Job. This brother was a righteous brother. Noah was a righteous brother. Think about what Job was going through. He kept the commandments. But yet and still, he had to go through it. And we'll get into that later. He lost everything that he had. Family, wealth, even his health. You don't think that brother was depressed? So like I was bringing out earlier, everybody's going to go through it. Even Yahweh Shai, who the world called Christ. You don't think he was depressed? Walking around during his time frame while he was during the Roman Empire, seeing the decayed state of his people, how we were on the bottom, how they were treating each other, how the people in charge were using the people, just like they're doing today. Or when it was time for him to actually take that walk to bear that cup that was presented to him, you don't think he was depressed about that? But these are the things that we must know and understand. The things that we go through are nothing common than what man has been going through. Understand that. So what we go through, I bring that out to say, is nothing new. Everything that we go through, another man or sister has been through. And I'm going to go to the book of Sirach, chapter 40, verse 1 right quick.
All right. The book of Sirach.
Read 1 and 2 if you can, King.
Book of Sirach, chapter 1 and verse 40.
40, verse 1 and 2.
40 and verse 1. All right. The book of Sirach, chapter 40 and verse number 1. Great travail is created for every man, and a heavy yoke is upon the sons of Adam, from the day that they go out of their mother's womb to the day that they return to the mother of all things.
So
their imagination.
Great travail is created for every man. Everybody's going to go through it, even other nations. Great travail is created for every man. We need to understand these things. Read on, King.
Their imagination of things to come and the day of death trouble their thoughts and cause fear of heart.
The things that we're going to go through in life, the imagination of the things that's going to come in the day of death trouble our minds. We all know that we're going to have to go through it, but we don't know how, when, where, who it's going to be by, if anybody. We don't know these things, even raising our kids. We in fear of protecting them, being by their side, trying to look out for them the best we can, even though we'll never be there to be able to guard everything. So those things are heaviness to our heart. They trouble our thoughts. How am I going to get from point A to point B? How am I going to pay these bills? I ain't got the money. How am I going to provide for my family? I ain't got no job. How am I going to raise this family? These things plague our minds. I've been through this. I've been through that. How can I move on? How can I live life? These things trouble our mind. But it's all due to one basic principle. We going through these curses. Let's bring out one right quick. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 65. It's more than the curses. Like I said, this is an experience that every man must go through that come out the womb. But we're going to get into that. And especially dealing with the nation of Israel, we're going to have to go through it more than anybody else. And we'll explain that as time goes on. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 65.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse number 65. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind.
You see that? This is a curse that was placed upon the nation of Israel for us being rebellious, not keeping the commandments, not having the faith. We were being rebellious, so we were cursed. That's what you can read when you go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15, or Leviticus chapter 26, verse 15. You will find out that we rejected the commandments. We forsook our Lord, therefore he put those curses on us. But I'm going to read it again. It said, and among these nations, thou shalt find no ease. Meaning we're going to constantly be going to work day in and day out and still manage to never have quite enough to do what we need to do. Neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. We can never get enough rest. It seems like we are. As soon as we lay down, it's time to go get back up and go right back to work. Go back to being oppressed. It says, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart. Now, according to the scriptures, your heart is your mind. So you're going to have a trembling heart when you're amongst these other nations, constantly trying to pay bills to stay broke. That's the common narrative for the nation of Israel. Constantly grinding day in and day out just to stay broke, just to pay another nation, to stay trodden down under their foot. These are the things that we go through. It says, and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. We can't see the future. We can't even see what's going on in front of us because we blind to the fact, due to the fact that we have been blinded by the prince of this world, Satan. We have been blinded. We can't even see in front of us. I was going to use an example that I was talking about earlier today, but it's basically where we have been. Matter of fact, on Dave Chappelle's show, he has a character that he plays on there called Clayton Bigsby. And it's basically a brother who was blind from his youth, and he's raised up being around a bunch of Edomites the whole time. All right, let me see if I can pull up a picture right quick.
I'm gonna get a precept while you're finding that. Book of Genesis, chapter 32 and verse 7. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him and the flocks and herds and camels into two bands. So, like the brother was going into earlier, all of our forefathers, man, they have went through this thing, man. Being depressed, being down and out, feeling like you're nothing, feeling like you have a great heaviness upon you. But the Lord said, and the brother probably bring it out later on, that whatever is brought upon you, take it cheerfully. And also, the Lord said He's not going to give you more than you can handle. So the Lord know your spirit and know what you can handle. So if you're going through depression or going through anxiety or dealing with heavy distress, just know that the Lord knows that you're strong enough to handle what you're going through now. You can make it through whatever you're going through, right?
That's right.
You got it, King.
All praise for that, King. And like I was stating before, as you can see on the screen, this is a picture of Dave Chappelle character that he played on the show back in the day. One of the characters' name was Clayton Bigsby, and this was Israelite who, from his youth, he was blind. As you can see in the picture, he was blind, but he was raised up around nothing but Edomites, so-called white man. All right. And throughout his history, he didn't know who he was. He couldn't see himself in the mirror. Nobody told him that he was a so-called black man. But he grew up around these individuals, not being able to see, blinded to the fact as to who he was, but he was mixed among these other nations. He grew up thinking, acting, and presenting himself to be just like them. So he was blinded to the fact, and he ended up becoming like one of the leaders of the KKK. But they never knew who he was because he always kept his mask on his head, you know. And it wasn't discovered until he was grown and later on. But point being is, I brought that out to show you that we have been blinded to the fact of the things that we go through. So we don't even know what we see right in front of us to be something that's detrimental to us or beneficial. We have been beguiled, lied to so long, we don't even want to hear truth when it hits us in the face as a nation for the majority. But you brothers and sisters who are repentant, have come into this truth, you seek answers now. You realize you've been lied to. Now you seek truth. You want understanding in all things. So as the class states, we going over dealing with depression tonight. All right. So we realize that we going through these curses and the Lord put it on us. I'm going to read it one more time. And among Deuteronomy 28:65, and among these nations shall thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling of heart, a failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. What we constantly thinking, is this all life is about? Is that what we were created to be? You know, we just gonna kill each other, gun each other down, and that's life. You know what the saying is in the world, it is what it is. That's the mindset of our people. Sorrow of mind. We don't know what to do to make things right because we have been discontinued from our heritage. So we just constantly go through this world trying to make best or make do with what the enemy has taught us. So majority of our people just live their life trying to make money. Rather than help build their people back up, they say the hell with it. We all Americans, we're all human, we're all people, we're all children of God. Hey, just make money. Not truly realizing that we as a nation are on the bottom. We don't have our own land. We don't have our pitch on the money. We don't own anything, but hey, just live life. We're good. That's the mentality of our people. Destroyed, sorrow of heart. But from there, let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 7, verse 6. The book of 2nd Ezra in the Apocrypha, chapter 7, verse 6. And we're going to read the verse 14.
Book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 7, and verse number 6. And it reads, there is also another thing. A city is builded and set upon a broad field, and is full of all good things. Verse number 7. The entrance thereof is narrow, and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were fire on the right hand, and on the left a deep water.
So we're talking about the kingdom right now. This is what we're striving to get, but most of our people don't even know that the kingdom is for us and us alone. Like I said before, we've been blinded by the prince of this world, the wicked of this world, to thinking that we all striving to get to the kingdom. No, it's only set up for the nation of Israel. And we reading something that's very valuable and important for our people to know right now. Continue.
Verse number 9. If this city now were given unto a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive this inheritance?
So it's talking about the kingdom of heaven. It says that it's a narrow path to get to this kingdom. And on the left, you got fire, and on the right, you got deep water. Either way, you fall off this path that you were supposed to be walking, you're dead. Paraphrasing, you're dead. Read.
Verse number 10. And I said, it is so, Lord. Then said he unto me, even so also is Israel's portion.
Is who?
Is Israel's portion.
You see that? That's very specific. That's very plain upon table. The Lord didn't say everybody's mission. It's not their walk. It's not their portion. He said Israel. Like I said earlier, we are going to have to endure on a larger scale than anybody else. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to go through that slump. We're going to have to deal with way worse conditions than anybody else. Why? Because we were chosen. Why? Because we were given the commandments. Why? Because we rebelled. And that's part of our punishment. But that's the walk we got to live through. Read.
Verse number 11. Because for their sakes I made the world.
He did what?
And because for their sakes I made the world.
You see that? Plain. The Lord made the world for our sakes, the nation of Israel, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Get that in your skull, Israel. Read.
Because for their sakes I made the world, and when Adam transgressed my statutes, then was decreed that now is done. Then were the entrances of this world made narrow, full of sorrow and travail. They are but few and evil, full of perils, and very painful.
You see that? It was decreed when Adam went to hell off. When he broke the commandments, it was declared Israel is going to have to go through hardships, sorrow, travail, evil, perils, and very painful times. It was declared from the beginning. We've all read that. He declared the ending from the beginning. You know, read on.
Verse number 13. For the entrances of the elder world were wide and sure, and brought immortal fruit.
Mm-hmm.
If then they that live labor not to enter into these. Let me read that over. Verse number 14. If then they that live labor not to enter these straight and vain things, they can never receive those that are laid up for them.
You see that? So it's letting us know that once he fell, once Adam transgressed, we had to go through these things, the ups and downs of life, the perils, the evils. Then were the entrance from the elder world made wide. Let me read it, verse 13. For the entrances of the elder world were wide and sure, and brought immortal fruit. If then they that live labor not, so it's saying if you don't put that work in to enter these straight and vain things, they can never receive those that are laid up for them. So if we don't put in this work, there's no way we're going to enter the kingdom. So that goes against and that cuts up those Christianity doctrines that say just have faith. We have to labor putting in work, meaning cutting out. We have to depart from the ways of this world. We can't follow everything that got the world flooded in the beginning. We have to be holy, be separate, be righteous. Jump to verse 57.
Second Ezra, chapter 7, and verse number 57.
Read the 76th one.
And it reads, Then answered he me and said, This is the condition of the battle, which man that is born upon the earth shall fight.
This is the prophet Ezra. He talking to the angel that was representing or bringing the message from the Most High. Read on. He said, This is the condition of the battle, which man that is born upon the earth shall have to fight. So Israel, when you're dealing with these different spirits, these different conditions, depression even, you're going to have to fight. You can't just say, I have faith. That's not going to get it off of you. That ain't what got it put on you. You have to put in work. Continue.
Verse number 58. That if he be overcome, he shall suffer as thou hast said. But if he get the victory, he shall receive the thing that I say.
You see that? You're going to get that victory when you put that work in. Shalom, King. Get that
Shalom.
victory
Shalom, bro.
when you overcome and suffer. Understand that. When you look in the world, I'm going to have to go back to the sports world again. When you see these individuals out there practicing 2-a-days on the football field, they in the blistering heat of the summer. They out there twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening, practicing. They suffering out there just so they can become more conditioned, strengthened for the battle that's ahead of them throughout the season. That's what the 2-a-day practices are all about. Suffering, building your strength up, building your family, your team up to be able to have a close-knit bond, to be able to fight the battle that's ahead. Read on.
Verse number 59. For this is the life whereof Moses spake unto the people while they lived, saying, choose the life that thou mayest live.
That was what he quoted. That's basically a precept going into Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19. When Moses was like, I present to you blessings and curses, meaning choose life or choose death. All right. Keep on.
Nevertheless, they believe not him, nor yet the prophets after him, no, nor me, which have spoken unto them.
So we were given a choice to either follow the commandments or break the commandments, to live life or to choose death. But no, nevertheless, our people, just like today, when you break out all these commandments, show them all the history, all the facts, they make a conscious decision right then and there. That's all right. I'm good with what I got going on right here. You're not supposed to eat this swine or this shellfish, sister, brother. I got to die by something anyway. Or I'm good. This good eating right here. They make a decision right then and there to choose death rather than life. Rather than saying, tell me more, they choose death. That's what our people do. Read verse 61.
That there should not be such heaviness in their destruction as shall be joy over them that persuaded to salvation, that are persuaded to salvation.
So he told them to keep the commandments and choose life so that there would not be such heaviness in their destruction as shall be over them that are persuaded to salvation. So he did not want destruction for our people, but salvation. You know what I'm saying? From there, let's go to matter of fact, I got a little quick video right quick. Let me put this on the screen. Now this is going into the symptoms, like we were talking about at the beginning. You got to ask yourself a couple questions. We already know what depression is. We know what the cause is. Let's look at some of the symptoms that Esau or so-called doctors would say today. All right.
You know if you're depressed. In order to be diagnosed with depression, you must have 5 of the 9 for at least 2 weeks. First, depressed mood. People may say they feel sad, hopeless, or even empty. Second symptom, being unable to enjoy anything. We call this anhedonia. So things that you used to enjoy, you just don't get any pleasure out of anymore. Then there's weight loss or a weight gain of 5% or a decrease in or increase in appetite. Insomnia or hypersomnia. Fifth symptom, being slowed or restless. I've had some patients tell me they can tell when their depression is coming on because they feel their limbs getting really heavy. Another symptom is being tired or having low energy all day. Then there's feeling worthless or having excessive guilty feelings. You can have trouble thinking or concentrating and making decisions. So therefore, depression can also cause memory problems. And then we have thinking about death or thinking about killing yourself. How do you know if you're depressed?
So those, as you were stating, is a very broad statement, a broad umbrella to be up under, to classify oneself as being in depression or being depressed. You know, but like we stated earlier, everything is spiritual. So you mean to tell me you just felt one day because of something that you happened to go through, a stressful event in your life, that you just say, hey, I want to kill myself? No, that's a spirit. That's a spirit where you feel isolated, where you don't want to deal with anybody. That's a spirit. It's spirits out here that are created to uplift you, to keep you motivated, keep you pushing in the right direction. And there's other spirits that are created to keep you separated away from others, especially away from righteousness. There's spirits out there to do these things. When you sin, the more you sin, the more you are separated from the Most High. But this is what I was talking about these so-called diagnoses, because these are the things that they present to our people and have us blinded, confused, where we don't give any credit to the Most High at all. All they doing is going off scientific so-called medical terms, and our people eat that up and they run with it. Nor can they explain it, but they use a very broad umbrella to label all these different conditions or spirits to place upon people during a time of need or trouble. Rather than giving them correction or godly words, they give them scientific terms. And because our people do not open and read the Bible, we are lost, confused, and we follow whatever the enemy has put in our place. Now, on the screen, you see a sister right here. But we all know by going through these curses that we are in these different nations and being forced to learn their educational systems, their doctrines, their way of being, their traditions, customs. She went to school and learned what they put in place for her to learn. She didn't learn about who she was or what's really going on. She went to their schools and learned their curriculum, just like we send our kids to their schools to learn the curriculum that these school systems have put in place. Therefore, the children come up thinking like Esau wants them to think, rather than how the Lord wants them to be. But I brought that out just to show that these are some of the symptoms. But when you actually take a look and think about what's going on in this world today, we are being defiled by Esau's media, his foods, his education, his religions, and his medicines. You know, the media messes with our minds, and they know that. They've done a very extensive search to understand how these things affect us as a nation, affect people, period. When they constantly put the same message in front of us, it tells our minds to do what their message or what their visual is telling them to do. Just like the music. That's why we are the only people that have negative music that downgrades each other and tells each other to kill each other, sell dope to each other, to destroy our own families. And what are we doing? Exactly what the music promotes. When you watch our movies, it's always the same narrative. Same thing. So they know and they defile us by putting these things in front of us. Like I was stating earlier about the education. Everything that they present to us is actually promoting what they call depression. It's building those spirits up in us because there's nothing righteous about the things that they promote to us. They religions. They tell us we don't have to keep the commandments, that everybody's getting the kingdom. Therefore, we are lawless people behind them. We believe and trust in lies. Their medicines. Esau, when you look through history, none of their medicines have ever healed or cured anything. They're always like Band-Aids. You know, you put Band-Aids on everything. Esau even put a Band-Aid on a broke leg and tell you everything is all right. And our people will take that Band-Aid and keep it on all week long, all month long, because we don't know no better. That's not the intended purpose of that Band-Aid. It's to stop the bleeding for a second, and then you take it off and let the air heal it, or the natural course of things heal it, mainly through the scriptures. But our people are blind to the fact. So from there, let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 9, verse 11.
Hey, brother, that's kind of like, our people, you go to the doctor and get the butterfly shot. Basically, that's when they draw blood.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When they draw blood, you have people who will actually wear that Band-Aid for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
But really, like you said, it's to stop the blood for a second, and then you take it off. See what I'm saying? But our people, they love to showboat that Band-Aid that Esau put upon them, walk around with it. Hey, I've been to the doctor. I let Esau heal me. He worked on me. Proud as hell about it. But and that's how other people are, though.
That's right. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 9, verse 11 and 12.
Con. book of Sirach, chapter 9 and verse 11. Envy not the glory of a sinner, for thou knowest not what shall be his end. Delight not in the thing that the ungodly have pleasure in, but remember, they shall not go unpunished unto their grave.
All praise. But the Lord is telling us right here, envy not the glory of a sinner. We see them, they so-called living the good life right now. We ain't supposed to envy that. How they together as a family or whatever it is that they do. They the boss at work. They got the land. We are not supposed to be envying the things that they do or have. Because when in actuality, when we look at it, we realize that the only reason they had what they had is because we messed up. So why in the hell we looking at them being jealous of what they got? Understand it. And it says, delight not in the thing that the ungodly have pleasure in, but remember, they shall not go unpunished until their grave. So they're going to get theirs in the end. But our people have to realize what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And right now I pulled up an article to show you the different disparities between our nation of people and the other nation when it come down to dealing with depression. All right. So it's called Racial Disparities in Diagnosis and Treatment of Major Depression. All right. Let's see. Is that what I want to start? All right, let's go to key findings right here. Let me blow this up a little bit. All right. Key findings. Can somebody read it? We're going to read all four of them.
Number one, major depression goes undiagnosed and untreated at disproportionate. No, I apologize. Salakia.
Disproportionate.
Thank you, King. I can barely see it. Disproportionately greater rates in majority Black and Hispanic communities, leading to unnecessary suffering.
Major depression goes undiagnosed and untreated in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in our nation. Read.
Verse 2. Two. The presence of more mental and behavioral health providers in Black and Hispanic communities is associated with higher diagnosis rates for major depression. This suggests that increased access to these providers could mitigate. I'm sorry, King. Could mitigate the underdiagnosis of major depression.
Hold on, excuse me. My bad. Let me blow it back up again. All right.
Two. The presence of more mental and behavior health providers in Black and Hispanic communities is associated with higher diagnosis rates for major depression. This suggests that increased access in these providers could mitigate the underdiagnosis of major depression in these communities.
So what we reading in verse, where in number 1 and 2 is that we have large numbers of depression that are not being treated or diagnosed in our communities. And then it also says the presence of more mental and behavioral health providers in our community are not being treated. Read 3 and 4.
Rates of treatment for major depression are lowest in Hispanic communities and lower in Black communities than in white communities. When treated for major depression, Black and Hispanic communities have a lower frequency of both prescription drug treatment and counseling.
You see that? Read verse 4.
4. Survey findings show that Black and Hispanic respondents are more likely to seek information on mental health outside of the healthcare system, to prefer providers with similar life experiences, and perceive greater stigma about mental illness in their communities.
So it's saying that it's a lot of a lot of depression or diagnosed issues going on in our communities, our neighborhoods, within our nation. They're not being treated, and it come down to it where our people are ashamed of going to find these things. And when they do go to try to find help, they want to try to find psychiatrists or shrinks that basically are like them, that can experience the same type of life experiences, which makes sense. But when we going to find help on these things, once again, we going right back to the same curriculum, the same system that was put in place years ago, decades ago, to give us lies rather than truth. We go to these shrinks, we go to these different doctors, and they sit us in the room, ask us a couple questions, charge us money by the hour, and try to put us on different medications and tell us A, B, C, D when they should be telling us, thus saith the Lord. And our people become ashamed to even admit to the things that we going through or to talk about them, from dealing with loss of loved ones to dealing with drug abuse to dealing with relationship issues, childhood issues, being beat, bullied, harassed, raped. We tend to bottle these things up without getting or seeking any type of help. And it ends up lingering on throughout our lives, hindering us from our building and becoming or fulfilling the things that we were created to do. Why? Because it's not being treated and it's looked down upon or it's frowned upon. Therefore, you have our people growing up more and more destroyed for a lack of knowledge, according to Hosea 4:6. Our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. We going through these things not knowing why. When we go through them, we don't know the reason why. We don't know how to get a proper answer. Therefore, we bottle it in and it just continues to build. Then we start building up hatred or loneliness, doubt, sorrow in our hearts and our minds, not knowing what's going on, nor how to fix it. But tonight, we're going to give you an answer to these things, Lord willing. So I brought that article out just to show you that our brothers and sisters, the nation of Israel, are going through a lot of these different things. Let me see if I can find some more information in this article.
And I was going to say this too. Salaki King, I was going to say this. A lot of times in the black community, saying especially black men, I know they say this is Black Men Mental Health Month. That's what they calling it now. But anytime we go and try to talk about the issues we go through, is either we are being discriminated against, and in a way where people say, well, it's just your imagination, or everybody go through that situation, and like our problems don't exist. It's just us making it up. Or what they tell black people to pull up your bootstraps.
Right.
So a lot of times black men don't go to the doctors or whatever. So we have to link on one another. A brother might have to talk to another brother to get some understanding about his depression, and it's really a real thing in our community.
Go ahead, King.
No, but I was about to say, yeah, but the scriptures does have the answers. But go ahead, King.
Hey, right. I was about to say, add one more thing to that. It's kind of like how they did experiments on our people, and they would say black women can handle more pain than white women.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
As far as when having a baby, dealing with surgeries and stuff like that. That's how they justify being able to treat you any kind of way they want to treat you, being able to put you down how they want to put you down, right? Giving them the special care versus giving our people the special care. This is why they didn't lecture you or give you any kind of therapy when you came out of slavery. Like the brother said, hey, you pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. How can we do that when you took our boots and our soles and the stitching out of our boots, and when by the time it rained, the damn boots flopping off our feet? So we fixing soggy boots and damn muddy and dirty boots that they have given us and taken away.
That's right. So we realize that we going through these things. Those are great points, by the way, Kings. We realize that our nation of people are going through the conditions that we go through because it was like that from the beginning. When Adam fell, it was destined for the nation of Israel to have to fight their way back through all type of mayhem and hell just to get back to any type of peace. You know what I'm saying? We were going to have to go through that in order to reach where we were going to. So we were going to have to endure on a larger scale than anybody else, any other nation. That's our destiny, so to speak, the condition of the battle. And right now we just read an article showing you some of the facts, not all, but some of the facts about how depression actually affects our nation of people. So what I want to show you now is once we go to these folks, once we actually build up the courage, the nerve to go seek help from them, after they done sat there and charged us out the ass to listen to our story, the next step is to do what? Try to diagnose us and put us on some type of medicine. Now, we all know that everything that Esau does or will do is about money. And this is the main reason that you can see on the screen. They want to put us on antidepressants. They do it in the school system with the children, try to put them on Ritalin, drugs to keep the kids or the boys calm. And they had the same antidepressants that they prescribe to our people. And I wanted to pull this out just to show you how much money they actually make off of this. It says antidepressant drugs market to grow valuation of $15.98 billion by 2023. They're going to be making damn near $16 billion off antidepressants. So that leads me to believe that Babylon or United States is actually promoting depression. Every time you turn around, they're talking about we going into a recession. We going into a depression. They hiking the gas prices. They hiking up the food. They eliminating jobs. They raising the prices of home. Raising the inflation, but ain't raising the money or the pay. They creating this narrative. Therefore, people are stressed out where they going to get these drugs, trying to escape reality. And by them doing so, you see the result. Them making damn near $16 billion off antidepressant drugs. It says an increase in awareness in regards with the disease state and importance of clinical needs and rise in prevalence of depression are the major driving factors that are projected to boost the market growth. So they trying to grow the market. They're not trying to eliminate it, reduce it. They trying to boost it. That lets you know where their mindset is at. It says, according to the report published by Allied Market Research, the antidepressant drug market accounted for $13.75 billion in 2016 and is estimated to reach $15.98 billion by 2023, registering a GR of 2.1 increase from 2017 to 2023. It says North America is the highest contributor in the antidepressant drug market in 2019. However, Asia Pacific is expected to witness the highest growth rate during the forecast period. Now, how in the hell can you actually broadcast or forecast who is going to be more depressed than that? Who's going to be more drugged or addicted or using these antidepressants unless you actually steering the narrative? That's how they are able to do these things. They promote it through the TV, through the media, through the news, through their education, their religions, their medicines. And like I said before, everything here is filed. Why? Because the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, according to Job 9:24. Let me keep reading though. It says depression affects a person's thoughts, behavior, feelings, and sense of well-being, and is caused due to biological, genetics, environment, and psychological factors. What is the biological? Is that passed on down through hereditary, through your bloodline? No. That biological is that food that they putting in you. And the cigarettes, the blunts, and the weed and the pills that you pop. That's what they do in the environment. They constantly destroying the environment. GMO foods. They genetically modifying everything, creating new fish that eat up the natural fish. Psychological factors, social media. They put these things in your mind, in your hand, knowing that it's going to destroy you, knowing that it's going to manipulate your mind where they can control you. Right now, people are numb to the fact of what they see on social media on a daily basis. People getting killed on a daily basis. You see it pop up on social media, you say, damn. You shake your head, and you just keep scrolling. You find something to make you laugh, ha, and you just keep going. They know what's going to happen. They've done the studies. And over time, like it says in this article, the symptoms usually include low mood and aversion to physical activity, meaning your mood is not going to be exciting or high energy focused. You're not going to be willing and ready to go put in work. You're going to become more lazy, lackadaisical, melancholy, low-spirited, depressed. It says depression is more common in women than men. Why is that? Because that's the narrative being pushed. What do you see in society? They telling the women, hey, you can do just like a man. You don't need a man. So what do you see in result of that? Women who are being used, abused, not being married. Why? And the women striving harder and harder to be more like the man. I can make the same money. I can do it better. So you got households being raised without a father in them. All these things are part of a big system, the system of Babylon, that is pushed and put in place to do what? Destroy the nation of Israel, along with the other nations, but more so the nation of Israel. It says depression is more common in women than men. Depression drugs works by fixing chemical imbalance, such as a lack of serotonin in the brain. So they've done studies on that as well. They understand by putting these drugs and chemicals in your mind is going to create a chemical imbalance. That's what you call the bipolar effect. One minute you feeling this way, the next minute you feeling that way. Those are different spirits that they actually putting on you, but they label it as medicines. Antidepressants help in the treatment of depression by maintaining balance of various hormones and chemicals in the brain. Why are they not just teaching you who you are and what you're supposed to be doing rather than trying to give you medicines? Because they are not of God. They are not of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. And we're going to get into that in a minute. Matter of fact, let's jump into it. Let's look up the etymology of the word pharmacy, because that's where they steer us once we go to see these shrinks. We go to the pharmacy, your CVS, your Walgreens, your Rite Aid, and do what? Get these so-called medicines. Well, let's see what pharmacy actually means. Can y'all brothers read that?
Yeah. All right. Pharmacy, a medicine that rids the body of excess humors, also treatment with medicine, theory of treatment with medicine. From Old French, pharmacy, a purgative, and directly from medieval Latin pharmacia, from Greek pharmakia, and healing and or harmful medicine, a healing or poisonous herb, a drug, poisonous potion, magic, potion, dye, raw material for physical or chemical processing.
You see, a poisonous herb, a drug, poisonous. Read on.
This is a pharmakeus, a preparer of drugs, a poisoner, of a sorcerer.
You see that? A pharmacist is a preparer of drugs, a poisoner, not a healer, but a poisoner, a sorcerer. Read on.
From pharmacon, a drug, a poison, filter, charm, spell, enchantment. Beekes writes that original meaning cannot be clearly established, and the word is clearly pre-Greek. The pH was restored 16C, in French 17C, in English CPH.
All right. That's going into the 16th and 17th century. But it's basically letting you know what? That pharmacy and pharmacists actually are people who prepare drugs, poison, sorcerers. These individuals are actually wizards and witchcraft, selling our people poison, but they label it and say what? That is some type of medicine built to heal you. No, they actually putting spells on you. Witchcraft, bringing in different spirits. Understand that. Says, words of poison apart from an inherited group are in some cases as those for drug, in addition to the Greek word, he has Latin vehement, poison. Earlier drug, medical potion. These are potions, poisons, drug, magic. That's what they said. That is the etymology of the word pharmacy. But our people don't look at these things. We just say, hey, give me what I need, doc. Doctor telling you take 2 of these and call me in the morning. We don't ask no questions. We don't even know what it is. We just know my back hurt. My foot been hurting. I got a fever. I got a flu. Pop 2 of these, call me in the morning. We go to the pharmacy. They call it in. You go on to pick it up. You pay your money to keep them spirits on you, to keep you down. Pressed down, lower in spirit, depressed. These things have all been put in part in this system that we all participating in unknowingly. Just wanted to bring that out to our brothers and sisters. But from there, let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 37, verse 12. So when you're dealing with depression in this system, it's all put in place to put these spirits on you to keep you pressed down and further away from your creator, from your God, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. Let's go to Sirach, chapter 37, verse 12.
Sirach, chapter 37, and verse 12. But be continually with a godly man, whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord, whose mind is according to thy mind, and will sorrow with thee if thou shalt miscarry.
You see that this is part of the fix. You know, when we stated earlier, what is depression? What are the causes? What are the symptoms? How do you fix it? You gotta go and deal with brothers and sisters who will steer you in the right direction. It says, be continually with a godly man whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord. Why? Because they're going to steer you the right way. They're going to steer you in the direction of the Most High. They're not going to tell you, well, go down the street and see Dr. So-and-so. Nah, they're going to ask you, brother, what have you been doing? You been keeping the commandments? Have you been praying? Have you been fasting? Have you been reading and applying? It says, but be continually with a godly man, whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord, whose mind is according to thy mind. Who knows what you're going through? Who knows what's going on? It said, and will sorrow with thee. They're going to bear them burdens with you because they know that that is a commandment. To bear each other's burdens, according to Galatians chapter 6, verse 2. That's why we're supposed to be around our brothers who going to steer us in the right direction. And he's going to tell you to do what? Go back to the Most High. Let's go to Psalms chapter 119, verse 59. Psalms chapter 119, verse 59. This is where that godly man going to send you and tell you, thus saith the Lord.
The book of Psalms, chapter 119 and verse 59. I thought on my ways and turn my feet unto thy testimonies.
He said, think on your ways. Turn your ways to these testimonies. Turn back and read what happened. Look to the days of old. See where your fathers went through these same conditions to find out what to do next. Because ain't nothing new under the sun, as we all know. We done heard that before. It's nothing new under the sun. What has been done, will happen again. So which we go through is nothing different than anything that anybody else has went through. You know, so we're supposed to go back to the testimonies. That's why you got our Old and the so-called New Testament. to show you what you're supposed to do or what will happen. What else is that brother gonna tell you? By going to these testimonies, you realize by going to 2 Kings chapter 1, verse 1. This is what happens when you don't seek the Lord. Let's go to 2 Kings chapter 1, verse 1, and we're gonna read that to 4.
Book of 2 Kings, chapter 1, and verse number 1. Then Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab, and Ahijah fell down through a lattice in his upper chamber that was in Samaria, and was sick, and sent messengers and said unto them, Go, inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, whether I shall recover of this disease. But the angel of the Lord said unto Elijah the Tishbite, Arise, go up to meet the messengers of the king of Samaria, and say unto them, It is not because there is not a God in Israel that ye go to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron. Now therefore, thus saith the Lord, Thou shalt not come down from that bed on which thou art gone up, but shall surely die. And Elijah departed.
You see that? After King Ahab, our king, after he passed, Ahijah took over, and he actually fell through the ladder and hurt himself. And he sent his messengers out to seek after Beelzebub, after the damn devil, after these doctors, rather than seeking the Lord. So as soon as he did that, the Lord said, Hey, Elijah, go tell them, because of their wickedness, because you ain't come see me first, you ain't getting off of that bed. You're going to die there. That's an example of what and how we should act and consider when we go through the things we go through in life. We supposed to seek the Lord first in all things.
That's right.
What the hell we look like going to the doctor first? But when we do these things, we never really truly get a healing or a cure or a real definite answer when we seek opposite of what we supposed to be doing. This is a perfect example of what that godly brother would tell you to do. Go read the scriptures. Find out what you're supposed to be doing. Find out what already happened. Rather than running to the damn doctor who don't give a damn about you, who don't know nothing about you, and don't care about your well-being. They waking up to go to that job to get paid just like you go and clock in at your job to get paid. Think about these things. From there, let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 13, verse 10. We're going to get an example of what happens when you seek the Lord rather than seeking these doctors. Let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 13, verse 10. And we're going to read to verse 16.
Okay. The book of Luke, chapter 13 and verse 10. And he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath. And behold, there was a woman which had a spirit of infirmity 18 years, and was bowed together, and could in no wise lift up herself.
So this was a woman who was going through it. She had a problem, had an issue of blood, an infirmity, a sickness. She seen Yahushua teaching, talking, but she was going through it. Let's see what she did. Read on.
And when Yahushua saw her, he called her to him and said unto her, Woman, thou art loosed from thy infirmity.
Read.
And he laid his hands on her, and immediately she was made straight and glorified God. And the ruler of the synagogue answered with indignation, because that Yahushua had healed on the Sabbath day, and said unto the people, There are 6 days in which men ought to work. In them, therefore, come and be healed, and not on the Sabbath day. The Lord then answered him and said, Thou hypocrite, doeth not each one of you on the Sabbath loose his ox or his ass from the stall, and lead him away to watering?
He's saying, hey, y'all over here talking about doing healing that I was doing work on the Sabbath. On the Sabbath, do you not untie your animals and let them go eat and walk around? Read.
And ought not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan have bound.
What?
Lo, whom Satan have bound.
I want our brothers and sisters to understand this. This woman was bound by Satan. Bound. Satan is a spiritual demon, evil spirit. She was bound by him. That infirmity, that was Satan bounding her. Same way Job was bound by Satan. Spiritual. These doctors, Esau, these other nations, going to give you diagnosis. They're going to give you terminology. The Bible said it's spiritual. The word of the Lord said these things are spiritual. This woman was bound by Satan. So he said, and ought not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham, meaning an Israelite, whom Satan have bound, lo, these 18 years, be loose from this bond on the Sabbath day. You see that? But these are the things that you will not hear about in these Christian churches. They're not going to tell you that everything is spiritual. The commandments are spiritual, holy, just, good. They're not going to tell you these things. But that's what I wanted to bring out to show you what happens when you go seek the doctor rather than seeking the Lord, or what happens when you seek the Lord rather than seek the doctor. She was healed. He was cursed. Realize the difference. All right. From there, let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 30, verse 21. The book of Sirach, chapter 30, verse 21, and we're going to read 23.
God. The book of Sirach. The book of Sirach, chapter 30 and verse 21. Give not over thy mind to heaviness, and afflict not thyself in thy own counsel.
The Lord said, give not over thy mind to heaviness, and afflict not thyself in thy own counsel. Don't give your mind over to depression, wicked thoughts. Don't give your mind over to that. That will plague you. Everybody going to go through it, but do not stay focused on it. Do not continue to accept it as if it's part of you. Like the brother brought out in the very beginning video, these spirits are just like clouds. They come and they go. We'll get into that later on as well, but they come and they go. Don't give your mind over to heaviness. It's a thought. Think about it and push on. Don't give your mind over to heaviness, and afflict not thyself in thy own counsel. You so hell-bent on thinking one thing that you in your mind trying to make it be something that it's not. They didn't respond to my call. They must be mad at me. It must be something I did. Yeah, that's it. This is what I'm going to do to try to fix it. You're having a whole conversation in your head and ain't none of it happened. You making up things. Assumptions. Your mind playing tricks on you. I think the Ghetto Boy had a song on that back in the day. Mind playing tricks on you.
Can I say something real quick, King? So that's why Israel war against each other so much, especially brothers in the hood. We war against each other. You know what? Even outside brothers in the hood, Sadiddy, Know It All Jake, war against each other because they all in their mind. The plague of the mind. Saying thinking about what this person did this to me, this person did that. Like you said, meanwhile, none of this stuff is going on. So they thinking in their mind about what could happen or what this person may be thinking, but in reality, this thing is not happening. The person probably ain't even thinking about them. And therefore they plan this thing in their head. And this is what depression is all about. And later on, that's why there's so much war going on in our community because of these things, because of depression. And because of the plague of the mind. Let me read that back over verse 21. It said, give not over thy mind to heaviness, and afflict not thyself in thy own counsel. And a lot of our people, man, that's why we come out saying stuff that we don't mean to say, yell at a brother or sister about some stuff because you had inflicted your own mind, taking your own counsel. Yeah, this person has said this and this person has said this. But meanwhile, this person has said a damn thing. And that's why so much gun violence and killing go on in our communities, man. Right. And in our households.
That's right. Good point, King. Keep reading verse 22.
Verse 22. The gladness of the heart is the life of man,
You see that?
and,
Read.
and the joyfulness of a man prolongeth his days.
You see that? A glad heart and joyfulness of a man prolong his days. When you live in a life where you happy, it prolong your days. I mean, even when you think about it, in the world, they say somebody that laughs or smiles all the time, they look younger for a longer period of time. It prolongs your days because you're not thinking about sorrowful things all the time. You're not complaining all the time. You realize, hey, it's somebody that's living in a worse condition that I am right now. I should be taking advantage of what I got in front of me. I might not have everything lined up the way I wanted to be, but hey, somebody would actually kill to be in my position right now. You say, how is that? A lot of people can't get the job that you got. Can't pay the bill. They don't have a roof over their head. They don't have clothes to eat or food to eat, clothes on their back. And we complaining about the simple and light afflictions that we go through here in Babylon the Great. Somebody else is willing to actually kill to be in your position. But we over here in our feelings, in our emotions. But a joyful mind and a glad, what it say, and joyfulness of a man prolongeth his life. We're not thinking about these things. We realize being in this truth, what's at stake, what's at hand. We got a job to do, a mission. Hey, yeah, we got infirmities. Yeah, we got bills to pay. Yeah, we gonna have ups and downs. That's just an emotional roller coaster. But that roller coaster, that ride don't last all day, all night. Hell, when you go to the theme park, you stand in line longer waiting on the ride than the ride actually lasts. Go stand in line for 30 minutes to an hour to get on a 30-second ride. It's a thrill and it's over with. Same thing with this depression and any other spirit that comes your way. You go longer before it actually happens and occurs in your life than it actually stays in your life. So think about that when you start thinking negatively about yourselves and the things that's going on in your life. It's going to pass, just like the clouds. That's not who you are. It's just a situation that you're going through right now. Read on, verse 23.
Verse 23. Love thy own soul and comfort thy heart. Remove sorrow far from thee, for sorrow hath killed many, and there is no profit therein.
You see that? Love thine own soul. You can't love nobody else if you don't love yourself. That's common. That's plain. Love your own soul. Take care of what you need. Build yourself up with the word of the Most High on a daily basis. And comfort thy heart. Comfort thy heart, building it up in the spirit. Learning something new every day. Realizing what you got to do. You got a family. You got brothers and sisters. You know, you got a nation of people that need your help, that need this truth. Where do you have time to feel sorry for yourself? You got a mission, you got a goal. Ain't no need for that. Now I realize and recognize that a lot of our people went through a lot of traumatizing things throughout their life. We all have. It might not have been on the same level with this person or that person, but understand we've all been through these things. Nobody is above each other in this nation. We all suffering. We all going through the same things as a nation. Ups and downs. But they too will pass. And it's not to make us weaker, but to make us stronger. Why? Because we made it through it. We still here today to give a testimony, to give knowledge on it, to build somebody up in the spirit and show them the way that they can continue to move on. It says, remove sorrow far from me. I don't know if you know, but that's a commandment right there. It says, remove sorrow far from thee. Don't let it get the best of you. Remove it from you. Just like a temptation that comes from Satan. You got to remove it. What did it say? Flee from sin. Just like Joseph, when that woman tried to trap him, he fled from that. He got the hell on. He fled. You got to do the same thing when sorrow creep in. Ah, man, there you go. Trying to bring me down again. Let me go read the scriptures. Let me call up my brother or sister to get a clear head. Let me go run. Let me go jog. Let me step outside and do something productive so that thought leaves my mind. This is how we are supposed to deal with these things. Why? Because it says sorrow hath killed many. Out suicide. They putting a gun to their head. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I don't know how I'm gonna come home and face my wife. I just lost my job. How am I gonna face my kids? These things are problems nonetheless, but you got to face them head on. It is what it is. Time heals all things. We heard that in the world. But in the process of you going through time after time, you have to build yourself up. You can't be the same scared little kid you was when you was 5, 6, 10 years old, being that when you 20, 30, 40, 50 years old. You have to start growing and maturing, building yourself up in the spirit, and stop making excuses. Why? Because sorrow have killed many. Popping pills, trying to escape reality, overdose. How many celebrities have we seen kill themselves, take their own lives for foolishness? Because they did not remove nor know that they're supposed to take their sorrow away from their mind. They constantly, all these rappers promoting to you, sip some lean, pop pills, pop Molly, roll up one. They telling you to kill yourself, put them spirits on you. They ain't telling you open the book, keep the commandments. They ain't telling you to do these things. They telling and promoting to you death, not life.
God.
And it said there's no profit in it. When we don't put away sorrow, there's no profit in it. What can you possibly gain by it? You're going to build up a hatred, a loneliness, a bitterness toward anybody that you have an issue with in your family. Just say, as a man or as a boy, you were touched by somebody in your family, a woman or a man. You're going to grow up having a dislike toward women or men growing up because you were not taught how to deal with your emotions or the situation that happened. Imagine seeing your mom get beat down as you were growing up because you were never taught these things. You will never know how to deal with them. You'll have a hatred toward men, or you'll grow up as a man doing the same thing that you've seen because nobody ever took the time to teach you or to show you how to heal from that. It was all bottled up and you were just following that throughout life. These are the things that we ought not to do as a nation of people. We got to seek counsel through the godly man who's going to turn us to the Lord. But our people don't know the Most High. He said he got a controversy with the people of this land because there ain't no knowledge, no truth of God in the land. That's why we going through the problems that we go through today.
God.
But go ahead, King.
It's like you. I want to bring out a precept real quick. The book of Proverbs, chapter 12 and verse 25. Heaviness in the heart of man maketh it stoop, but a good word maketh it glad. So yeah, we go through tribulations and problems, and that causes heaviness in our mind, and it make our heart stoop, make our mind low, But it says, but a good word maketh it glad. And that's why it's so important for us to really study in his word all the time too.
That's right.
Even get counsel from other people. Because once you get counsel from other people, not from your own self, they begin to tell you the same thing they went through, similar to yours, and how they came through it. And a lot of times Israel be missing that. Because we try to take it on ourselves, instead of getting with your brother and your sister to say, hey, look, this is what happened, this is what I'm going through, and empty out those burdens so the brother could say, you know what? Yeah, I went through the same situation. I went through the same thing and the Lord brought me out. And here I am today. The Lord will bring you out the same situation as well, no matter what it is, And it says, but a good word maketh it glad. So always get counsel and get in these scriptures, because the Lord knows anytime we get in these scriptures, man, our spirit get lifted. We start reading the history of our ancestors, start seeing the prophecies that's coming to pass, and reading about the future of our people, the future of our kingdom. Man, this thing bring gladness of heart, and seeing the down destruction of our people. I mean, excuse me, not our people, but the down destruction of our enemies. That thing bring glad to the heart, Like, okay, the same people that's oppressing me, I know that one day we're going to rule over them, So that thing bring gladness of heart. You know what I'm saying? When we read his word. So continue doing that. Salaki King. That's all I want.
That's
Let me
right.
bring out something real quick if you don't mind, King.
Go ahead. You got it.
Right? There's so Psalm chapter 55 and verse number 22. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee.
Mm.
He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. See that? So if we stay in this truth, we understand, hey, in this truth, man, if you are in this truth, you will go through depression or anxiety. Right? That's a fact. Because the Lord said in Sirach chapter 2 and verse 1, when you are in a lower state, paraphrasing, the Lord will increase you. No, it says when you come to serve the Lord, prepare your soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure. So you have to constantly endure over and over, day after day, family member after family member, sister after sister, brother after brother. You don't have to endure these trials and these tribulations and these temptations that are going to come upon you. And these are going to be great heavinesses upon your heart. Just like Lot, he was vexed in Sodom and Gomorrah. Think about having now that you understand who you are, now that you understand God's laws, statutes, and commandments, you understand what you have to do. You understand what's expected out of you. So just like a child, if was left home with their with no parent at home, right, and they had to look after the younger ones, you know exactly what mama and dad told you not to do. So it's a more of a burden on you to make sure things go right versus them going wrong. But the younger ones, the ones who don't know about this thing, they don't give a damn. And the younger ones are our people who don't know the law, statutes, and commandments, right? But we, now that we know, it's a heavier burden and more of a responsibility upon us. So we realize what's going on. So these burdens will be cast upon you, but you have to be ready to deal with that thing. Let me bring out one more, King, and it's going into how we deal with it as a nation, right? So this is Ephesians, right? Chapter 4 and verse number 31. You know, Ephesians chapter 4 and verse number 31, and it says, I skip that, I'll get to the point. Verse number 3, and be ye kind one to another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Hamashiach's sake have forgiven you. So as brothers and sisters, knowing that we're going to go through this thing, even with people in the world, right? Even with people in the world, you have to be ye kind one to another. How do you do that? Keep the commandments towards your brother, right? Don't be a talebearer. Don't be a thief. Don't be a stealer, right? Don't be a killer towards your brother. Don't try to destroy your brother or provoke your brother unto unrighteousness. Provoke your brother unto good works. So, because you never know what somebody is going through, right? Like we always bring up, you never know that. So how do you help your brother? You be ye kind one to another. You know, see, we don't understand this as a nation. We have been taught to hate one another, be hard towards one another, be an asshole towards one another, and be mean toward one another. We don't know what tenderheartedness look like anymore. We don't even know what that means anymore. We taught by Esau to not don't be a nice guy, right? Hey, be a nice guy towards your brother. Turn the other cheek towards your brother, right? That don't mean you have to be a simple-minded man. That don't mean that. But hey, turn the other cheek to your brother. So we'll do that. We'll turn the other cheek for Esau, but we won't turn the other cheek for our brother. Esau cussing you out at work, right? Slapping you on the back, right? Doing all kind of manner of witchcraft and evil towards you, right? Telling you happy 4th of July when he know he destroyed your people, you know. And we'll turn the other cheek for him, but your brother look at you, right? Then now you ready to fight him. Really, he was looking past you, looking at a car over there somewhere. But you think your brother looking at you in disrespect or looking at you sideways. Now you ready to kill him. I'm sorry, brother. You got it, King.
Brother, right on point with it, you know. And I agree, you know, dealing with Esau, our people say, hey, you gotta have thick skin. But be ready to murder their own people, man. It's unreal. But that's going into another narrative, though. But let's go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 22. Going back into how to fix or how to deal with depression, how to deal with it, how to fix it. this is another thing that our people must consider. Proverbs
And
chapter
real quick, King, I brought
Go
that
ahead.
last point out to show our people how to help our people that are dealing with depression. That's how you help our people deal with that type of thing, you know, because if somebody's going through depression, you can bring them down even more.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can bring them down, or you can help them out by showing them love by keeping God's commandments.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Proverbs chapter 17, verse 22.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 17 and verse 22. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones.
See that? A merry heart. Once again, we going back to your mind being raised to a level of being merry, being happy. When you thinking good things, positive things about who you are, what you're supposed to be doing, knowing that these other nations gonna get double as to what we get, knowing that Esau and Moab and Ammon, they gonna be wiped off the planet, you know, put to death. They gonna be made slaves. That we ain't gonna be on the bottom no more. Though. That's keeping your heart merry, and it's good like a medicine, a real medicine, not the what we getting from the pharmacy or from the pharmacy, you know, from the wizard, from Rite Aid and Walgreens. This is true medicine, healing. But a broken spirit drives the bones. But a broken spirit gonna dry you up, shrivel you up, ready to die, rather than to grow and to flourish. Just like a plant in a garden, when it shrivels up, you already know it's about to die. It ain't producing no fruit no more. It ain't growing, it ain't blossoming. It's shriveling up. It's drying up. But from there, let's go to 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7. This is going to start going into the prevention, how to prevent these type things from happening. Even though we all going to go through it, when you go through something in life, you don't aim to keep going through it. You're supposed to go through something and learn from it and prevent it from happening again. At least that's where it should be. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7. This is one of the things that you supposed to be or should know. Excuse me.
1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 7. Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you.
So, matter of fact, go to verse 6. Excuse me. Start at
1
verse 6.
Peter chapter 5 and verse 6. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you.
You see that? That's the main thing when it comes down to preventing these things from happening. We got to humble ourselves down and realize that you just went through something, a life event, through something that was terrible, or you went through something that that's mind altering. You know, it might have been a traumatic thing where you might have survived a damn plane crash or accident or not getting shot somewhere. Something traumatic. You gotta humble yourself under the mighty hand of Yahweh, that he may exalt you in due time. You may feel low. You know, you lost a loved one, situation in your household when you were younger, or going on now, divorce. You gotta humble yourself. Trust and put your cares into Yahweh, and he will exalt you, meaning bring you back up in due time. Casting all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. These doctors, they don't care. These lawyers, they don't care for you. They don't care. They going to get paid just like you when you go to your job. Now, you might have an exception here and there, but for the majority, they don't care. They just going to do what they have to do. But this is part of that prevention. You got to humble yourself, cast your thoughts on the Lord. Not in your own mind, but to the Lord. Let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 4, verse 12. Luke, chapter 4, verse 12. And when we read this, we're going to find out that, or realize that spirits come and go. So we got to be mindful of that. The book of Luke, chapter 4, verse 12 and 13.
The book of Luke, chapter 4, verse 12. And Jesus and Yahushua answering said unto him, It is said, Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. And when the devil had ended all the temptation, he departed from him for a season.
For what?
For a season.
For what?
For a season.
Our people need to realize that these spirits will come back. These temptations will come back. It's Yahushua dealing with Satan himself when he was in the wilderness for those 40 days, 40 nights being tempted. He said, don't tempt the Lord. And when the devil had ended all the temptation, he departed from him for a season, for a moment. He didn't just spit one scripture and it was done. He had to deal with Satan no more. Just like when we go through things, we're not just going to deal with Satan one time and it's over with. You endure one time and it's over with. No, you're going to constantly have to deal with these spirits. They're going to come at different seasons. When you up, here they come to bring you down. You know, when you down, they coming to keep you down. You're going to have to deal with these spirits in and out of seasons. So it's best that you know these things and understand it and keep yourself built up in the spirit. Therefore, you'll be able to recognize it when it comes. And you'll know what to do, especially when they present you with an opportunity to sin, to be tempted, to go to hell off. You'll know how to act. You'll recognize the signs. Just like the same way you'll be able to recognize when somebody's character is off. When they mad, when they angry, when they sad, when they not like themselves. You're able to determine what's going on. That's how you got to be when dealing with yourself and realizing and understanding these spirits going to come and they're going to go. But for now, let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5. And how do you do these things? How are you able to recognize what's going on? You got to examine yourself. The Lord didn't put it in the scriptures for nothing. It's in there for a reason. 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5.
The book of 2 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 5. Examine yourselves, whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves. Know ye not your own selves, how that Yahushua is in you, except ye be reprobates.
You see that? On a daily basis, you got to do what? Examine yourself. Examine yourself. Examine the things that you were doing, your habits, your hobbies, your work habit, what you are doing on a daily basis. Are you reading? Are you studying? Are you applying? Are you fasting? Are you learning something new? Or are you just complaining, pointing the finger, making up excuses, running from your problems? These are the things we got to do. We got to examine ourselves daily, whether ye be in the faith. Whether we be in the faith, prove your own self. Because you can be one way around your brothers and sisters, but like the brother bring out, what do you do when you're not around? That goes into that integrity. When you're not around, what are you doing? How are you carrying yourself? Are you the complete opposite? Are you serving two guys? Are you being in the world and out the world? You got to examine yourself on a daily basis. Because when you playing both sides of the field, you can believe them spirits is coming. And it's going to be a depressing feeling when they meet up. When those two worlds clash. Understand that. It says, know ye not your own selves, how that Yahushua Mashiach is in you. The spirit in you is willing to do the work. You got this truth, you got the knowledge, but is your flesh stronger than your spirit or your spirit stronger than your flesh? That's what you got to determine. Except ye be reprobates. Except you be back in the world. You got one foot in, one back out, or one in the truth and one out. If you reprobate, you heading back to the world. And can't nobody bring you back. You got to prove it to your own self. From there, let's go to Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7. Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7.
Right. Book of Proverbs chapter 23 at verse number 7. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, said he to thee, but his heart is not with thee.
You see that? But what you think, it shall be. That's why you got to examine yourself on a daily basis. Sometimes you might feel like you ain't doing enough work. When you're thinking like that, that's how it's going to be eventually. You got to keep pushing, motivating yourself, motivating others. For as you think in your heart, in your mind, so is he. It's going to manifest itself. So rather than worrying about are you doing enough, just keep putting in that work. Keep building. Keep being that light that you were created to be. Keep being that motivational drive that others need. Keep being that voice of reason. When others start slipping and you notice it, go lift a hand, lift them up. Build your brothers and sisters up, knowing what the mission is. From there, let's go to Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10. Because a lot of us get weak, just like we stated in the beginning. Everybody's going to go through these ups and downs. Yahushua went through it. Hell, Rachel went through it. Imagine Rachel in love with Jacob, but she had to watch him be married to Leah. Lay down and had kids with her sister. Then when she finally got the opportunity to marry this brother, she couldn't have no kids. She went through it. King David, think about what he went through. His own son was trying to kill him. Then one of his right-hand men killed his own son. He went through it. He was sobbing and everything, crying for his son. Nobody wants to deal with that. Everybody think they raising their children to be righteous, to do better than them, but turn out the child will turn on you. Those are spirits. Jeremiah, he wrote a whole book of Lamentations, depressed about the decayed state of our people, our land. Whole book of Lamentations going into the destruction of Israel, Jerusalem. How we were destroyed by the Lord's anger. Depression. Mattathias, seeing his people, his country being destroyed by the heathen. That's depressing. Woe is me. What nation ain't had a hand in our destruction? You don't think them brothers went through it? We are all going to go through it. But they didn't give up. They kept fighting. They knew this was the condition of the battle. Yahushua knew he had to drink that cup. They didn't get scared. They knew what to do. They cried out to the Lord. They cast their burdens on the Lord, and they went through it. Whether they lived or died, they went through it, fighting because they knew what was at stake. That's how we got to be. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10. But when you're going through it, this will determine, or your reaction, your actions, period, will determine your strength, your level of strength, based off of what you do when you're going through it. From the time that it actually happens to the time you come out on the other end determines your level of strength. If you don't come out on the other end, your strength is weak. You're faint-hearted. You're weak. Feeble-kneed. But if you man up, woman up, and cast your cares on the Lord, knowing that he will strengthen you, you're going to make it on the other end. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10.
Book of Isaiah chapter 41 and verse 10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness.
So the Lord is telling us, fear thou not, whatever it is that we go through. We ain't supposed to be fearing our job, losing our job, paying a bill, relationship, fearing man. We ain't supposed to fear nobody but Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. Not theirs, not everybody's God. I'm your God. What are you scared of? I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee. He gonna strengthen us and hold us up. to keep us pushing so that we can get to our inheritance that's on that narrow path that only one man could go at one time. Why? Because it's a fire on one and it's a deep water on the other. When we slipping, about to fall in that fire, he upholding us. About to fall in that water, he holding us up with his hand of righteousness. Holding us up, pushing us through the fire, through that water, to keep us on the straight and narrow. Those are the things that we should be praying for on a day-to-day basis. If you're not, consider that. Do that. Because he tells us to pray without ceasing. What are you praying about? These are the things you need to be thinking about. From there, let's go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 18. Now they say, now why in the hell is he going to Genesis chapter 2, verse 18? It's something very key that a lot of our people overlook. And it's not just man and woman, but it's also dealing with our issues. Genesis chapter 2, verse 18.
The book of Genesis, chapter 2, and verse 18. And the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him and help me for him.
So the Lord told us in the very beginning, it's not good for man to be alone. So when you're dealing with these spirits, these issues, these problems, this depression, it's not good for you to do it alone. That's why Zephaniah said in 2 and 1, gather yourselves together. Bear each other's burdens. Confess the faults between each other. You can't do it on your own. These spirits don't just come one, they come many, constantly, season after season. Why are you trying to tackle these things on your own? You can't do it. The Lord set it up that way where you have to go to your brothers and sisters, where you have to come to him. So just like in the beginning, when he created Adam, he didn't create him to do this by himself. Imagine Adam walking around on the earth by himself, watching the animals do what they do, living their life. He ain't got nobody to talk to. That'd be a depressed state right there. The Lord realized that, why he gave him a mate to help him out in his time of need and to be able to multiply. But from there, let's go to Proverbs 24 and 6. Nah, you know what? Let's go to Malachi chapter 3, verse 1. Malachi chapter 3, verse 1, and we're going to read that at 6.
Malachi chapter 3 and verse number 1. Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And the Lord whom ye seek shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant whom ye delight in. Behold, he shall come, said the Lord of hosts. But who may abide in the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, like fueller's soap.
So when your Howard shot come back, he gonna be like refiner's fire and like full of soap. That refiner's fire is just like that fire that the blacksmith uses to refine that gold, to even turn or mold that metal or that steel. That full of soap is basically what they used back in the day to clean garments with. So he coming back to purify us. Read.
Verse number 3, Malachi chapter 3 and verse number 3. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness.
Read.
Verse 4. Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto the Lord, as in the days of old, and as in former years.
Read.
And I will come near unto you, and I will come near to you unto, let me read that over. Malachi 3 and verse 5. And I will come near to you to judgment, and will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the strangers from his right, and fear not me, said the Lord of hosts. For I am the Lord I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed.
So I brought that out to show you that we're going to have to go through a few things, but the Lord is not going to change. And we're going to be purified through our trials and tribulations, our ups and downs, our some of our emotional roller coasters that we go through. You know, we're going to be tried, but he ain't going to change. He's going to stay the same. It's up to us to make change, you know. And he's going to purify. And I want to play this video right quick just to furthermore build your spirit up.
I was always taught to be strong in this world. Told to never let my guard down because at any moment I could be attacked without a moment's notice. That my skin made me a target. Skin that has persevered through many trials and tribulations, from seeing my mama raped by landlords, to my father being beaten and stripped of his manhood, to my brothers and sisters being separated into jobs for this bigger system. My skin has always been under attack. Yet somehow we prevailed through it all, through all the lynchings, literacy tests, new Jim Crows, war on drugs, the gentrifications, police brutalities, food deserts, mass incarcerations. We survived and adapted and pushed to change because our very existence depended on it. Our very existence depends on this black strength that has carried us for decades, but is undermining an important aspect of our humanity and feeding in on itself. Being strong all the time took away our ability to speak about our weaknesses, our sadness, our mental illnesses. This silence is killing us. On top of that, we lack proper mental health care access and endure mistreatments by medical professionals who cannot relate to us. For that, we stigmatize mental illness to preserve this place of our strength, damaging ourselves, and among Black children observing a spike in suicide rates because they may feel that their place in heaven is way better than their place here today, because when Black life isn't valued enough for professional help, adequate housing, or even breathing, life here degrades in value in comparison to life after. Black bodies, strong Black souls are floating through the wind, seamlessly letting go. Strong Black bodies are screaming for help, but suffering in silence and being socially and systematically being put on quiet. Black souls are strong, but we do need help when we do fall through the cracks. That is why I want you to know that you can patch things up with me. All right, we can kick it back like it was a drive-through movie in the 1970s. We could get some help from people who actually understand us, refute our standards of stigmatizing mental illness, and fight against the structures that chronically misdiagnose what this really is. Fight against the racism that brings up our mental health issues and lowers our treatment options, bringing us one step closer to seeing no other option. I want us to see that we have a way to heal this wound that has been widening ever since day one with no means of contracting. I want us to know that the seed that we sow today is the harvest we reap tomorrow. And when we finally reap, we can find peace in these moments, noticing that the danger isn't gone, but we finally have a place where it feels like it is. The grounding of Black bodies.
All praises for that. Brother was mighty with that poem. But I want to end with Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 16, verse 12. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 16, verse 12. The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 16, verse 12, and it reads.
I got you. Wisdom of Solomon. You got it, brother? Your mic was muted.
Yes, sir.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 16 and verse.
I got it, my bro. Sorry about that, man. I ain't know my mic was on. Let me jump in.
Shalom, King.
Shalom, brothers. Salakia for that. The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 16, did you say verse 12, brother?
Yes, sir.
Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 16, verse 12. For it was neither herb nor mollifying plaster that restored them to health, but thy word, O Lord, which healeth all things.
So it's not the herb, it's not the pills, it's not the therapy sessions that Esau or these doctors put out there, but it's the word of the Most High that heals all things. So we realize by going through this lesson that everything is spiritual. Everything is spiritual. And it was created by and for Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. So when we deal with whatever issues we have, because we will go through these things, we got to understand that running to the doctor is not necessarily the answer, even though the Lord created the doctor. We supposed to seek his face first, seek his word, seek his understanding, seek his healing, his refuge before we do anything. Don't fight these things or these spirits on your own. Lean on your brothers and sisters. Speak about the issues that plague you. That's part of being in this truth. That's part of being a repentant Israelite. Knowing who you are and what's required of you. You're no longer part of this wicked society. You have severed yourself from them. You come back to who you truly are, and we have to act accordingly. We have to build each other up day in and day out and realize that an idle mind is like idle hands. That's the devil's playground. So when we're not putting in that work, we leaving room for what? Satan to move in. We don't want to give place to Satan to do anything. And when them temptations come your way, you have to flee. You know what I'm saying? Keep your mind clear, focused. And when you run into these problems, these situations, just like anything else in life, you got to ask yourself these questions. What is it? What's the cause? What are the symptoms? How do I get rid of it? And how do I prevent it from happening again? So this has been another Sabbath class, and it's dealing with emotional roller coasters or dealing with depression. I'm your brother Ananias.
Brother Benaiah.
Brother Brian.
And Brother Yakub.
And we are A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel. And we got to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua for the abundance of
Brother,
all
Salakia. Salakia, brother. Salakia, brother. Salakia. Y'all brothers forgive me, man. Brother, y'all forgive me, man. I don't want to, I ain't trying to stop nothing, brother, I want our people to understand, y'all forgive me again. Salakia, man, for me coming on late like I am, but I've been trying to get home so I can join the brothers to help bring this word to our people, man. Brother, did you bring out the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28, man, verse 28? Did you happen to bring that scripture out?
Deuteronomy 28:28?
Yes, sir.
Nah.
May I write fast, brother? I know
Go ahead.
you about to wrap it up. But see, our people need to understand this, man. I don't want our people to miss out on this opportunity, man, because you touched on a mighty topic and you bringing a mighty teaching to our people out there, and our people need to understand, man, that what's going on is like you was telling them earlier, man. This is a spiritual thing, man. This is spiritual, okay? And I wish I had been able to get on a lot sooner, as soon as you had started. But man, I knew that I had to join y'all as soon as I can, man, so I could contribute to this mighty and most very valuable and important lesson that you bring to our people out here today, man. The book of Deuteronomy, I'm bringing on out. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 28, man. The Lord shall smite thee. This is Moses telling our people what these curses that our people gonna face if we refuse to keep the Most High's commandment. If we don't want to be obedient, we want to be stubborn. If we want to try to laugh in the face of the Most High, laugh at His commandments. If we want to try to do what we can to just join in with the rest of the outside heathen world and follow they lead and following behind them and join in with the Most High was letting us know, man, what was going to happen to our people, what these curses, all these elaborate various curses would be. Elaborate curses. You know, all kind of trick curses. Letting us know, man, all kind of wild things, weird and wild things will be happening to our people, man. Our people ain't supposed to be suffering from no damn mental illness like this. As strong as we are, we ain't supposed to be going through this. But because we want to follow in behind everybody else and run behind them and worship their demon gods and call on the name of their damn demon gods, all their damn demon gods go show up. And when their demon gods show up, we go lose our damn mind. We ain't supposed to be having nothing to do with that. Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 28. The Lord shall smite thee, meaning the Israelites, with madness, losing your damn mind, going through all kind of nervous damn breakdowns. Nervous damn breakdowns. Ain't nothing romantic about that. Ain't nobody gonna pity you because you had a damn nervous breakdown. Stop breaking the Most High's commandments, and your mind will be strong. Stop calling on them damn Edomite demon gods and demon gods of other nations, and your mind will be strong.
God.
Look like it froze up.
Brother, you still there?
Don't look like it.
God.
Y'all brother had a precept y'all want to bring out before we close out?
Yeah. Book of Luke, chapter 12. All right, Luke chapter 12 and verse number 48. And it reads, Luke chapter 12 and verse number 48. But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall much be required, shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. So the point I want to bring out right here is that, hey, when you in this truth, the more you are given, the more you're going to be tried. The more you are given, the more you're going to go through. The more turmoil, the more temptations, right? So you have to realize in this truth, it's a price that comes with this knowledge that we have, right? It's a price that you have to pay. And that is that going through that fiery furnace, being tried as gold is tried in the fire. That is the price that you have to pay for this knowledge that we have received from the Lord. Because you think this knowledge is just, you think this knowledge is free? Nothing in this world is free, man. You know, although we don't have to pay Esau's dollars for this knowledge, to gain this knowledge, you're going to have to go through trials and tribulations. You're going to have to go through turmoil. You're going to have to go through depression, anxiety, different things of that nature. So when you come to this truth, prepare your soul for temptation, set your heart aright, and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble.
That's right.
Because guess what? The Lord going to deliver you from that thing. And it's nothing that you cannot handle. So if a brother or sister is on this call right now, is tuning in later on, right? Is looking up this video, sending a message to somebody else. If you're going through depression, right? Hey, trust in the Lord. Cast your burdens on the Lord, man. Because the Lord gonna look out for you. The Lord gonna look out for his people. Keep the commandments. Get out of sin. Flee from that. Get around brothers and sisters who are in this truth. Don't go around worldly people, because worldly people, they don't give a damn about you. They're gonna send you to the doctor, tell them to give you a couple of pills, right? They might hand you a blunt, you know, tell you take this, take a drink. Next thing you know, you're an alcoholic. See, they're not trying to heal you, but the real healing, like the brother brought out in his last precept, comes from the Lord. It don't come from herbs and pills and mollifying plaster. You know, it comes from the Lord, right? So if a brother or sister is going through depression or anxiety, hey, seek out the Lord, man. And find you a hobby to do. Find something to do. Get outside, right? Go do something to get that off your mind, because the Lord said idleness worketh mischief, you know. But I'm gonna pass it to another brother.
Brother, you cool? You got something?
Kind of, no, that was it. I was gonna just say, that was a good scripture brought out, Brother Benai, and I was gonna just finish off what the elder had brought out, verse 28, Deuteronomy 28, verse 28. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart, and thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness. You know, and that's straight up depression. You know, so you know, we got to obey these commandments so we can get rid of those depression. You know, symptoms of depression. So we don't want to be, you know, blind in the daylight. You know, we want to be able to see. So we don't want to be able to go through all these horrific things that the Lord said we will go through because we disobey these commandments, and that's depression.
That's right. I don't know if I pulled this script earlier. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. It says, there have no temptation taken you, but such as common to man. But Yahweh is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. So like we stated at the beginning of the class, every man that comes from the womb of the woman, he is destined to go, and woman is destined to go through great travail throughout life. You're going to have good ups and downs. You're going to experience some form or fashion of depression. But remember, just like the scripture says, nothing that you're going to go through that is not common to man. Somebody has gone through that before. Loss of loved ones, relationship issues, divorce, kids, death, whatever the case may be. You're going to go through something that another man went through or another woman went through. But he will also make a way for you to escape. So don't let these things that you go through weigh you down to the point where you can't move forward, where you shut down from being productive, to the point where you're thinking about taking your own life. Cast your cares on the Lord. Stay focused, stay grounded, stay pushing forward, pressing toward the mark, toward the kingdom. As a repentant Israelite, knowing what's at stake and what's at hand. So keep the commandments, keep faith in Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, and stay pushing forward, loving your brothers and sisters at all times. But on that note, we are A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel, and we appreciate you brothers and sisters that tuning in. If you're dealing with these type of issues, seek counsel, godly counsel, so that you can fight the battle. Don't do it on your own, and don't lean on your own understanding. Trust in the Lord. But on that note, we're going to close out and say shalom, shalom, peace, and greetings to our brothers and sisters of the nation of Israel. And we out, and we got much love and respect for you. Shalom.
Shalom.